in what will likely continue to mean the end of democracy. I know it's amazing that we still kind of even have one, but no, it's going to end even more. The extremist Supreme Court has agreed to hear a challenge from the Trump administration or regime and the GOP to completely eliminate limits on how much political parties can spend during elections. On Monday, the three handpicked Heritage Foundation judges, along with their corrupt predecessors that continue to be on the court, Thomas, who was corrupt, said that they plan to review an appellate ruling that upheld a provision of federal election law that had been previously upheld in 2001, which held in place spending limits on elections. Without those limits on party spending, of course, large donors would be able to skirt the caps on individual contributions to a candidate by essentially directing unlimited sums of money to the party with the understanding that the money will be spent on behalf of the candidate. So now this case is going to be argued in the fall, which is ironic because perhaps then that will herald the final fall of our system of government. Richard Hasen, an election law expert at the University of California, Los Angeles Law School, has already predicted that the court will end up striking down the limits, considering how, since 2005, the court has been chipping away at federal laws and rulings that basically tried to prevent rich people from purchasing our government. Didn't exactly work. I mean, let me give you an example of some of those. McConnell versus FEC, of course. Before that, Citizens United, which is really, opened the floodgates here. But then, of course, previously you had decisions like Bellotti versus First Bank, Buckley, Valeo. All of those things have laid the groundwork for billionaires being able to come in and purchase our elections. Now, Hasen wrote that the SCOTUS striking down these limits, which he predicts, may even make sense legally. Now, he says that in light of the prevalence of the super PAC spending that has, in his mind, undermined political parties and done nothing to limit, and in fact, increased corruption and inequality. So let me be clear, he's not in favor of this, right? He's just pointing out that, kind of like how McCutcheon made legal sense after Citizens United, now you've got this one that's going to legally make sense after all those other limits were struck down. So I guess this is just following that pattern of getting rid of all the checks against billionaires coming in and buying our elections. So there's that. Now, the Republican committees for House and Senate candidates had filed the lawsuit back in Ohio in 2022, joined by then Senator J.D. Vance, who is now vice president, and then Representative Steve Chabot. So there it is. This is almost the last of any of the limits left on political spending by large donors and corporations. Now, I know that there are still individual limits, right? But after this case, if they win, and it's almost certainly likely for this court to strike down these limits, those ones are next. So there you go. And then we will have completely unlimited, unfettered corporate money and billionaire money in our politics, which is probably part of the plan to ensure that Democrats never win another election again. And it is kind of funny and a little ironic in that case, because actually in this last election, Kamala Harris raised $1 billion. And so she actually had more money. But then again, outside independent expenditures for Trump were actually incredibly high as well. Even if the Trump the Trump campaign actually raised less money. And so these independent expenditures really do make the difference here. And it's going to get far, far worse. Look, these candidates are going to be able to blanket the airwaves with nonstop political ads, funded directly in conjunction now with their billionaire backers to lie about the opposition, which they did in this election, while lying about their own candidates as they continue to pass more tax cuts for themselves. And this comes, by the way, as the global elite has actually increased their wealth by $33 trillion over the last 10 years. An Oxfam report published on Wednesday of last week found that the richest 1% globally have actually seen their wealth surge by more than $33.9 trillion over the past decade, with just 3,000 billionaires accounting for the $6.5 trillion of that increase. And there we go. They have been hoarding the wealth for themselves. And now Republicans are getting ready to pass yet another tax bill that cuts their taxes as the Supreme Court gets ready to allow even more corporate and billionaire money to flood into our electoral system. I wish I could say this is a result of a broken system, but in reality, this system is working exactly as intended. The rich continue to get richer as they use mass corporate media to confuse low information voters into supporting the very people who are actually screwing them over. Look, they're sitting there pointing the finger at immigrants and trans people and talking about all waste, fraud, and abuse as they continue to rob all of us. And the worst thing is that nobody from either party is going to come save us. Republicans, obviously, they're pushing for this. Even members of their so-called populist right, like Josh Hawley, are pushing for this. Pushing for the big nasty bill and being okay with the Medicaid cuts for other people. But what about the Democrats? What about the Democrats? Democratic leadership right now is too busy attacking Zohran Mamdani. That's what they're doing. They're going after Mamdani, who has openly said that billionaires should not exist. Mamdani just won a primary against Andrew Cuomo, the face of the establishment. If that's not a rebuke, I don't know what is. But no, the Democratic leadership, Hakeem Jeffries is looking at this like, I don't know about this one. Oh, he's a socialist. Can't do that. I mean, he's refusing to endorse Mamdani. What are you talking about? Blue no matter who? I thought that's what you were screaming the whole time. Blue no matter who. Vote blue no matter who. And yet, when it comes to Mamdani, you got those same people in Democratic leadership saying, I can't really vote blue no matter who. We might have to go for Eric Adams. Or Cuomo. We might go for Cuomo, who I don't know if he's going to enter the race, but if he does, he's going to do it as an independent. And of course, Eric Adams is already an independent. So, I mean, blue no matter who. Blue no matter who. Nope. No, not if he is an actual progressive. Can't do it. And by the way, last Thursday, billionaire hedge fund manager Bill Ackman, a Trump supporter, announced that he would lavishly fund any candidate who emerged to challenge Mamdani in a general election. Ackman said that large amounts of donor money would pour in for any candidate who could take on Mamdani's proposals for affordable housing, healthcare, food, and transportation in the city. So it's very likely that Ackman is going to obviously either fund the Republican candidate, which makes sense to me, or Andrew Cuomo if he ends up getting into the race, or Eric Adams. I mean, could do either of those. Okay. So that's just an example. If you hated the huge amounts of corporate money in our elections before, and most of you do, get ready to see even more of it come the fall, thanks to our extremist, far-right Heritage Foundation Supreme Court. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. Patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.